안녕. Welcome back, everyone. This man has walked into burning buildings for 10 years without flinching. Not once. But at a late night convenience store along the Han River in Seoul, he froze because she smiled. That's all it took. Are you ready to have your heart absolutely wrecked today? Let's begin.
I almost died today, and somehow, the only thing I can think about right now is your name.
I almost died today, and somehow, the only thing I can think about right now is your name. Why is that? Kang Ji-ho couldn't bring himself to look at her not directly. She'd pulled the oxygen mask down to her chin and set it from a narrow stretcher inside the ambulance. Just like that. 10 years on the job. Hundreds of people saved. His hands had never once trembled. But right now, his ears were burning. Why do you care about my name? That's what you're thinking about right now? Ji-ho kept his helmet balanced on his knees and turned to look out the window. Smoke still hung over the Seoul night sky. Kang Ji-ho, Yongsan Fire Station. Nadia Okanjo bit her lip for just a second after he answered. Then she smiled small, quiet. Ji-ho, that's a good name. That was all it took. Just those 4 words, and a crack split straight through the 10-year wall Kang Ji-ho had built around himself. The story starts 2 hours earlier. A fire broke out in a 3-story commercial building tucked deep inside an old alley in Yongsan, Seoul. Yongsan Fire Station Team 1 arrived on scene 4 minutes after the call came in. The first one off the truck was Kang Ji-ho, 6'1", broad shoulders that even a full set of turnout gear couldn't hide. He slung the air pack onto his back and snapped his helmet buckle into place without breaking stride. Even his own crew had gone quiet, watching him from behind more than once. The incident commander shouted over the radio, "Unconfirmed occupants on the 2nd floor. Ji-ho, you're going in? Copy." 1 word. He was already running. The 2nd floor hallway was thick with black smoke. The heat hit him in the face like a wall. Ji-ho dropped low, one hand on the wall, pushing deeper inside. He found doors by touch and listened for sounds with his ears. What made this man shine in the dark wasn't just his body. It was his eyes, the eyes of someone who had never once abandoned a scene in 10 years. A sound came from the far corner of a storage room. A woman on the floor. Long limbs, deep brown skin, a face streaked with soot. Unconscious. Without hesitation, Ji-ho hoisted her onto his back. He didn't register the weight. He was already calculating the distance to the exit. When he laid her down outside the building, she wasn't breathing. Ji-ho's hands moved. Steady. Fast. Precise. 1 minute into CPR, the woman coughed. The crew erupted. Ji-ho stood up and pulled off his gloves. His face didn't change. Then the woman on the stretcher suddenly grabbed his sleeve. Wait. Her voice was raw, scraped hollow from all the smoke she'd inhaled. But it was clear. You're the one who saved me just now? Yes. CPR and everything? Yes. Nadia stared at the ceiling for a moment. Then she looked up at him. You saved my life. But also, why are you so good-looking? 3 crew members choked back coughs at the exact same time. Ji-ho's ears went red. In all his years on the job, that had never happened before. Standard procedure, ma'am. Nadia grinned. The stretcher rolled into the back of the ambulance, and that grin didn't go anywhere. Ji-ho caught it just once, but that smile stayed in front of his eyes for the rest of the night, no matter how hard he tried to shake it. Out in the hospital hallway, Ji-ho got stopped by his partner, Park Si-jin. Sarge, who was that woman? She's from another country? No idea. Did you see her face? She's gorgeous, right? Go home. Se-jin turned away grinning. Ji-ho had been walking toward the exit when he stopped. He walked over to the information desk. I need to check emergency contact information for a foreign woman just brought up to the second floor ER. I'm the rescue firefighter on scene. Standard procedure. Clearly standard procedure. He just couldn't explain why his heart was going that fast. Not that night. The next evening, Jiho stopped by the convenience store near the Han River after his shift. Same as always. 1 canned coffee, 1 triangle kimbap. Same routine every time. Then he saw a familiar face behind the counter. Oh, the firefighter. It was Nadia, standing at the register in a convenience store vest, a scar prevention patch still on her neck. What are you doing here? I heard you asked for my contact info at the hospital yesterday. I'm fine, as you can see. She spread her arms wide. The vest sleeves slid up to her elbows, showing long, toned arms. Jiho grabbed a canned coffee and kept his eyes fixed on the refrigerator. Glad to hear it. You come here every day? Yeah. Then I guess we'll be seeing a lot of each other. He didn't answer. Paid and walked out, but sitting down on the Han River bench, the moment he cracked open that coffee, the corner of his mouth pulled up on its own. He couldn't stop it. After that night, Kang Jiho started showing up at the convenience store every single day. At first it was every other day, then every day, and somewhere along the way, his after-shift walk along the Han River had quietly become a stop at the convenience store. He didn't notice. His crew did. Sarge, the convenience store again today? Patrol rounds. Yongsun's jurisdiction goes all the way out there? Jiho grabbed his jacket without answering. Sejin turned away and laughed to himself. Nadia Okonjo had been in Seoul for 8 months. She graduated top of her class in architecture from Columbia University in New York, then spent 3 years at a design firm in Manhattan. Then came an offer a contract position at a mid-sized architecture firm in Seoul, a project blending traditional Korean architecture with modern urban design. For Nadia, it felt like a dream. Reality hit differently once she got there. In every meeting, her ideas got shot down before they had a chance to breathe. When she presented in English, the room had already moved on by the time the interpreter caught up. And one day, the firm's director, Choi Hyung-suk, called her in alone. Miss Okonjo, we need to revisit the terms of your contract. The project direction has shifted. It took Nadia a full week to realize that revisiting the terms meant she was being let go. It was 3 months into Nadia's time in Seoul. She stood at the front of the conference room, screen behind her. 6 months of work. A project applying the curved roofline geometry of traditional Korean Hanok architecture to the exterior design of modern high-rises, every angle sketched by hand. As she walked through Seoul's back alleys, then translated into data through countless late nights, the presentation began. This curved structure is inspired by the eaves of traditional Hanok. Applied to a modern building, it can enhance the visual aesthetic while also improving wind resistance efficiency. While the interpreter relayed her words, eyes around the room drifted quietly toward Hyung-suk. He sat with his arms crossed, watching the screen. No expression. The presentation ended. A beat of silence. Interesting concept, but it doesn't quite align with what our clients are looking for. That was it. They moved on to the next agenda item. Nadia closed her laptop. The Korean colleague next to her leaned in and whispered, "You did great. He's always like this." Nadia couldn't tell if that was meant to be comforting or not. 2 months later, Nadia was eating a sandwich alone at lunch when a notification popped up on her phone. A list of entries for an international architecture competition, a link someone had shared in the group chat. She scrolled through it without thinking much. Then her hand stopped. One of the entries. The title was familiar. The design brief was familiar. A project applying the curved geometry of traditional Korean Hanok eaves to the exterior of modern high-rises. The submitter's name was Choi Hyung-suk. What is this? She clicked the link again, pulled up the design drawings. The measurements were familiar. The layout was familiar, because she had worked through the night pulling every single one of those numbers herself. The sandwich sat untouched. She couldn't take another bite. That afternoon, Young-suk called her in. Miss Sokanjo, we need to revisit the terms of your contract. The project direction has shifted. Nadia looked at him. Hyung-suk kept his eyes on the papers in front of him. He didn't look up. He knows exactly what he's doing. Nadia said nothing. She took the paperwork, stood up, and held it together until the office door clicked shut behind her. Alone in the hallway, she leaned her back against the wall. The Seoul sky stretched out through the floor-to-ceiling windows. All the way here, she thought. And this is how it ends. She didn't cry. That wasn't who Nadia was. And so Nadia became a night shift convenience store clerk by the Han River. Pay rent, eat, keep the visa alive. 3 things. That's all she told herself she needed to hold on for. Going back to New York meant losing. She wasn't going to lose. Nadia wasn't the type who lost. There was one thing that gave her relief. Around 2 a.m., when the foot traffic thinned out, she'd pull out her sketchbook behind the counter. Seoul's back alleys, the lines of rooftops, the angle of light settling over the Han River. Her hand kept drawing Seoul. That night was the same. Then the door opened. Hey, Kang Ji-ho. Tonight, no turnout gear, just a gray sweatshirt and jeans. Nadia slid the sketchbook under the counter for no particular reason. Ji-ho stood in front of the refrigerator for a long time, pretending to choose. You buy the same thing every day. Why do you always take so long to pick? He turned around. Nadia had her arms crossed. I'm deliberating. You run into burning buildings for a living. But canned coffee gives you trouble? Ji-ho put a can on the counter without a word. Nadia scanned it and let out a small laugh. You're here every day. Are you keeping tabs on me or something? Ji-ho's hand paused. I live nearby. The fire station is 2 subway stops from here. Silence. Just the low hum of the refrigerator motor. Ji-ho slid his card into the reader. When you smile, I don't know where to look. 10 years on the job, and that's never happened to me before. Nadia's fingers stopped on the receipt. Ji-ho picked up his coffee and pushed the door open. Right before it closed, Nadia murmured to herself, he's the real deal. After that night, the two of them had a bench. At 2 a.m., when Nadia's shift ended, she'd step outside, and Ji-ho would already be sitting there facing the river, like he hadn't been waiting, like he'd just happened to end up there. She'd sit down next to him. At first, they didn't say much. A few nights in, they were talking. Why do Koreans always ask your age first thing? Hierarchy. We don't do that in the States. Does it bother you? No, it's just interesting. You never asked me mine. I wanted to. Ji-ho took a sip of his coffee. The Han River gleamed black beneath them. One night, Nadia's phone rang while they were sitting on the bench. Her sketchbook open between them. Her face went still. The call lasted less than 30 seconds. The hand that set the phone down was trembling, just barely. What happened? Not a question. He already knew something was wrong. It's nothing! Nadia smiled. But it wasn't the same smile as before. Ji-ho could tell the difference. It was a co-worker from the firm. Hyung-suk's entry, the one built from Nadia's work, the one she'd lost sleep over, had made the shortlist for the international competition. Shortlisted, Nadia stared at the river. The water moved black and slow. She had nothing to say. Ji-ho stayed beside her. He didn't ask. He just stayed. He knew sometimes that's the thing that matters most. The next morning, Ji-ho borrowed Sejin's laptop. What are you looking up? International Architecture Competition. Shortlisted entries. Sejin's eyes went wide. You, Sarge? No answer. Jiho's eyes stayed fixed on the screen as he scrolled. It took 2 hours to track down enough evidence to prove that the shortlisted entry's original creator was Nadia. That evening, Nadia's phone rang. How did you find out? I looked into it. Why? Why would you do that? Jiho was quiet for a moment. Are you free tomorrow? Jiho, are you free or not? Nadia tightened her grip on the phone. She pressed her forehead against the window of her Goshiwan room, Han River, just visible through the glass. I can't let myself lean on this guy. I'm free. 2 words, but after she said them, it was the first time in a long time she'd felt like she might cry. She held it in, smiled instead. Kang Jiho hung up and sank back into the couch, looked at the ceiling. His heart was doing something strange. This man was in trouble. The next morning, Jiho took Nadia to a legal office tucked inside an alley in Jongno. Nadia didn't say much. She kept her eyes on the ground as they walked, side by side. It was obvious she hadn't slept. Did you sleep last night? A little. Eat anything? Jiho, I'm fine. He didn't argue, just pressed a convenience store bag into her hand. 2 triangle kimbap and a warm canned coffee. Why does he always do this? Nadia unwrapped a kimbap as they walked. The first bite told her just how hungry she'd actually been. The news from the legal office wasn't bad. Nadia's portfolio had original files with time-stamped creation dates that matched almost exactly with the competition submission. Proving plagiarism wasn't out of the question. The problem was time and money. How much? The attorney named a number. Nadia's expression went flat. Jiho heard the number and said nothing. They walked out of the office and down the alley in silence. Jiho, I think I'm just going to drop it. Why? It's not realistic. Who said it's not realistic? Nadia stopped walking. So did Jiho. They stood facing each other in the middle of the alley. Why are you doing all this for me? I'm nobody to you. Jiho looked at her for a moment. Then he turned away. Don't say that. Just those 3 words. But there was something heavy inside them. Nadia couldn't say anything after that. 3 days later, Jiho went to Hyung-suk's architecture firm alone. He wore a deep navy suit, the kind of look that would make anyone stop and stare if they were used to seeing him in turnout gear or a sweatshirt. The jacket fell straight across his broad shoulders, sharp and clean without even a tie. The moment he walked through the glass door of the lobby, 3 staff members looked up at the same time. He was the kind of person who changed the temperature of a room just by standing in it. Hyung-suk came down to the lobby. Can I help you? Jiho set an envelope on the table. These are the creation timestamps for Nadia Okonjo's original portfolio files. I think you'll find it interesting to compare them against the competition submission. Hyung-suk's face tightened. What is this supposed to... If you cooperate, this ends simply. If it goes through a legal office, it gets complicated. Jiho's voice was low and even. He didn't raise it once. That was somehow worse. Hyung-suk picked up the envelope. Jiho gave a single nod and turned around. He walked straight across the sun-flooded lobby toward the exit, back perfectly straight. 2 staff members watched from a distance and couldn't look away. He didn't tell Nadia. That evening at the convenience store, Jiho bought his coffee like always, while Nadia stood behind the counter like always. She had no idea. You look different today. Did you go somewhere? Ran an errand. Wasn't today your day off? Something came up. Nadia studied him for a second, like she maybe already knew. But she didn't ask. Thank you. For what? Just thank you. That night they sat side by side on the Han River bench. Not much was said, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Nadia opened her sketchbook. Jiho looked out at the river. The soft scratch of her pencil filled the quiet. Nadia's hand stopped. On the page, the side profile of Jiho's face. She flipped past it before he could see. What am I doing? 2 days after that, Jiho's teammate Park Sejin fractured his ankle when a structure collapsed during training. Surgery went fine, but he'd be off the floor for a while. That evening, Jiho didn't stop by the convenience store after visiting Sejin at the hospital. First time that had happened. Around 1 a.m., Nadia was finishing up her shift when she glanced through the glass at the Han River bench. Jiho was sitting there alone. No coffee, just sitting, looking at the river. Nadia grabbed 2 cups of instant noodles from the shelf, poured in the hot water, pressed the lids down, counted to 3 minutes. Nadia walked up and put one of the cups on Jiho's knee. What's this? Ramyun. Shin ramyun. This is what Koreans eat when things get rough, right? Jiho looked down at the cup for a second. Nadia sat down next to him and peeled back the lid on her own. Sejin, I'm the one who called that training drill. Nadia kept stirring her noodles without missing a beat. Is it your fault Sejin got hurt? It was my call. Was the call wrong? Jiho didn't answer. I see you carrying everything by yourself. Every single time. But Jiho, you're still a person. Jiho opened his cup. Wind moved across the Han River. Nadia's hair lifted. They ate in silence. But by the time the noodles were gone, Jiho's shoulders had dropped just slightly. Only Nadia noticed. Nadia came back from the trash can and stood in front of him. Give me your hand. Why? Just because. Jiho looked at her, then slowly held out his hand. Nadia took it in both of hers, held it for a moment like she was checking if it was cold, then let go. That was all. But Jiho couldn't move for a long time after her hands left his. Go home. You have work tomorrow. Nadia stood up first. Jiho watched her walk away. She's the one. That was the moment. The first time Kang Jiho was completely sure. Then his radio went off. Team 1, all personnel respond immediately. Suspected explosive device reported in Meipo. All units mobilize. Jiho was on his feet before the transmission finished. Nadia turned around. Jiho already had his phone to his ear, zipping up his jacket with his other hand. Don't go in. Please. I'm falling for you. You can't die. Nadia didn't even realize she'd said it out loud. It just came out. Jiho stopped. He looked at her. 1 second. Then he keyed his radio and ran. His silhouette disappeared into the dark, big, solid, unwavering. Nadia stood there and watched until she couldn't see him anymore. Did I just say that out loud?
Nobody ever knows exactly when love starts. Nadia didn't either. Was it the moment she handed him noodles on a bench by the Han River at 2 in the morning? Or back in the ambulance when she asked for his name before anything else? Maybe the heart doesn't tell you it's already leaning until it's too far gone to pull back. Jiho wasn't any different. This was a man who had never once looked back while running into a fire, until now.
The Meipo call ran long that night. Turned out to be a gas leak, not an explosive device. Just getting a clear count of everyone inside took over 2 hours. Jiho stayed until the last possible moment. He called the all clear only after walking every floor twice. Jiho leaned against the engine and pulled off his helmet. The sweat was cooling and taking the warmth with it. He thought about Sejin. Then he thought about Nadia. He checked his phone. 1 unread text. You're alive, right? 3 words. No period. Jiho stared at it for a while. Yeah. Wrapping up now. He sent it and put his phone away. And then, standing in the cold pre-dawn air, his mouth pulled into a smile he couldn't explain. 2 days later, Jiho was flat on a hospital bed. He'd pushed too hard after getting back on scene. 2 cracked ribs. A falling shelf had caught him during the fire suppression, and he hadn't realized it at the time. He'd worked through the pain for 2 days before he went down. Sejin was the first one through the door. On crutches. Sarge, 2 ribs. 2. Why didn't you say anything? It's nothing. Nothing? I'm on crutches. You've got cracked ribs. Our whole team is falling apart right now. Jiho stared at the ceiling. Sejin dragged a chair over and sat down. Hey, Sarge, do you know Nadia? Why? She's out in the hall. Won't come in. Jiho's eyes went to the door. Sejin hobbled out on his crutches and left the door wide open behind him. Casual, like it was an accident. Nadia was standing in the hallway. She'd clearly come straight from the end of her shift vest off, but hair still up, a convenience store bag in her hand. Their eyes met. Can I come in? Yeah. She walked in slowly and sat in the chair beside the bed. Set the bag on the side table. Canned coffee. 2 cracked ribs. Cracked, not broken. Is there a difference? Nadia sat with her arms crossed and looked at him. Not angry, not quite on the verge of tears, somewhere right in between. How long were you waiting? An hour. Why didn't you come in? Because I thought I'd cry if I did. Jiho didn't say anything. Neither did Nadia. Afternoon sunlight came through the hospital window, quiet and steady. Nadia spoke first. Jiho, I heard from Young-suk. When? Yesterday. He said he's withdrawing the entry and issuing an apology. Jiho looked out the window. You wore a suit, didn't you? He looked back at her. Sejin told you? He showed up on crutches and told me the whole thing. While laughing, Nadia bit her lip for a second. Why didn't you tell me? It was nothing. It wasn't nothing to me. Jiho didn't answer. Nadia picked up the canned coffee from the side table and pressed it into his hand. He held on to her hand with it. She didn't pull away. They stayed like that for a long time. Late that afternoon, the hospital room door opened again. A woman, long straight hair, beige coat. She saw Jiho, and her face broke into a warm smile. Jiho, are you badly hurt? Nadia looked at the woman. The woman looked at Nadia. Half a second of silence. Sujin. Why are you here? Sujin. An ex-girlfriend they'd broken up a year ago. Jiho's voice wasn't warm. You got hurt. Of course I came. Your mom told me. Nadia slowly stood up. I'll get out of your hair. Get some rest. Nadia. Nadia smiled. The kind of smile that said she was fine. But Jiho knew it wasn't the same smile he'd first seen at the convenience store. Nadia walked to the window at the end of the hospital hallway. The Seoul afternoon sky filled the glass. She took one long, slow breath. I'm fine. It's nothing. But she wasn't fine. That was the problem. She pressed her forehead against the window. 8 months in Seoul, and she'd never felt her chest cave in like this. Not when the firm backstabbed her. Not when she couldn't make rent on her Goshiwon room. Not when she heard that her friends back in New York were doing well. I actually like him. First time she'd admitted it. At a hallway window. Alone. Back inside the room, Jiho looked at Sujin. Who is she? A friend. A friend? You were holding her hand. Jiho didn't answer. Jiho, honestly, I still... Sujin. His voice dropped. I appreciate you coming. But nothing's changed between us. You know that. Sujin's expression went still. She looked at him for a moment, then picked up her bag. She's a foreigner? Yeah. Think it through, Jiho. There's such a thing as reality. Jiho said nothing. Sujin left. The door clicked shut. He looked at the canned coffee on the side table. The one Nadia had left behind. Still unopened, Jiho sent a text. Where are you right now? The reply came back immediately. First floor cafe. Why? Come up. Are you being discharged? No. I need to say something. 5 minutes later, Nadia pushed open the door. Jiho was sitting up in the bed upright, which had to hurt. No sign of it on his face. Lie down, the doctor said. When does your visa expire? Nadia stopped. 2 months. Why? Jiho looked straight at her. If I give you a reason to stay within 2 months, is that enough? Nadia's mouth opened slightly, then closed. What are you? I'm serious right now. The room went quiet. Nadia looked at him. He looked back. A man with 2 cracked ribs, half sitting up in a hospital bed, and those eyes were dead serious. Jiho, are you on painkillers right now? He didn't laugh. No. Nadia started laughing, tried to stop it, and couldn't. She looked up at the ceiling so she wouldn't cry. Jiho, you are seriously... She couldn't finish the sentence. He'd already reached out and pulled her hand toward him. She sat down next to the bed. And for a while, they just stayed that way. Afternoon light poured through the hospital window and filled the whole room. Jiho was discharged 5 days later. Every one of those 5 days, Nadia showed up at the hospital, always with a convenience store bag. Canned coffee, triangle kimbap, one day a cup of instant noodles. Jiho said you really don't have to keep coming every time. And Nadia said then tell me not to every time. Every time she brought it. Every time he took it. Nobody could tell if they were together or not. Including them. Sajin knew. Sarge, why don't you just ask her out already? Visiting hours are over. Go home. I hobbled all the way here on crutches. Jiho didn't answer. He looked out the window. The corner of his mouth was up. The evening after discharge, Jiho went by the convenience store. Nadia had her sketchbook open behind the counter. She didn't hide it anymore. She looked up when she heard him come in. You're out? Yeah. How are the ribs? Fine. Liar. Jiho pulled 2 canned coffees from the refrigerator. Put one on the counter. 2? One's yours. Nadia stopped mid-scan and looked at him. If I ring this up, that means I'm buying it for you. I know. Nadia laughed and finished the transaction. Jiho picked up both cans and pushed the door open. Come out when you're done. I'll be at the bench. Nadia watched him go and closed her sketchbook. She knew if she opened it again, she'd just draw his face. At 2 a.m., Nadia locked up and stepped outside. Jiho was at the bench. His coffee was already gone. She sat down next to him. Why'd you sit out here so long? It's cold. Not that cold. You have cracked ribs. Cracked, not broken. Nadia laughed. Wind came off the river. They sat in silence for a while. Jiho. Yeah. What you said at the hospital, did you mean it? Jiho looked at her. Nadia was watching the river. I said I just needed a reason within 2 months. It's less than 2 months now. I know. A beat of quiet. The Han River shimmered dark below them. Nadia? Yeah. Go out with me. Nadia looked at him. Jiho was watching the river. His ears were red. His ears are red. Okay. That was it. 2 words. But those 2 words made Jiho's heart go louder than any fire engine siren he'd ever heard. 10 days later, there was an envelope on Nadia's desk. Visa expiration notice, not 2 months, 1 month. The termination of her architecture firm contract had triggered a change in her residency status. Nadia stared at the envelope for a long time. 1 month. Find a new job, change the visa, or leave. 8 months she'd held on in Seoul, and now she had 1 month left. She put the envelope in a drawer. She didn't tell Jiho. Nadia started moving on her own. She reached out to friends in New York, emailed a former colleague from her old Manhattan firm, rebuilt her portfolio around the sketches she'd made in Seoul, working the day shift, organizing files at night. She didn't cut back on time with Jiho. She made sure he couldn't tell anything was different. Jiho could tell. The shadows under her eyes got darker. Her smile was the same, but sometimes she'd get this faraway look. He asked her once, "Something going on?" "No." "Why?" "Under your eyes. The shifts are just wearing me out." He didn't push. That night at the bench, he draped his jacket over her shoulders. She held on to it. 10 more days passed. A message came in from New York. A former coworker who'd started their own design firm, they'd seen Nadia's portfolio and wanted her on board. The offer was good. Honestly, it was really good. That night, Nadia wrote back. She said yes. Then she sat there for a long time, staring at nothing. The Han River was visible through the window. I'm leaving right when this view was starting to feel like home, she thought. How do I tell Jiho? She picked up her phone, put it down, picked it up again, finally sent a text. Are you free tomorrow? His reply came back in under a minute. Always. The next day, they walked along the Han River together. Nadia couldn't bring herself to say it. Walking beside him, she thought about how she wanted to hold his hand. So she did. Jiho didn't let go. Jiho, I'm going back to New York. She kept walking, eyes forward. A good opportunity came up. And with the visa situation, I think it's the right move. Jiho was quiet for a long time. Their footsteps were the only sound on the stone path by the river. When? 2 weeks. More silence. Nadia gripped his hand tighter. Are you upset? No. Liar. I'm not upset. Jiho stopped walking. So did Nadia. They turned to face each other. His eyes looked different. These were eyes that didn't waver in front of fire, but right now they did. I just don't want you to go. Nadia's eyes started to fill. She tilted her head back to hold it in. Me neither. They stood there for a while. Wind passed over the Han River between them. 2 weeks went faster than she expected. Nadia packed up her room. Watching the Goshiwan empty out, she thought about all 8 months. The day she got backstabbed. The first day she clocked in at the convenience store. The first time she heard that name inside an ambulance. The pre-dawn air at the river bench. Shin ramyun in a paper cup. A side profile in a sketchbook. And Jiho. She called the convenience store owner. I have a favor. When Kang Jiho comes in, can you give him this for me? A small envelope. 1 note inside. She handed it over and wheeled her suitcase out. Through the glass door, the Han River. She looked at it one last time. Then she turned away. Jiho had the day off. He stopped by the convenience store after visiting Sejin in the morning. Out of habit. The owner handed him an envelope. He opened it right there. A sketch on a notepad. A man sitting on a bench by the river. Profile view. A few words written underneath. Best view in Seoul. Thank you, Jiho. He read it again. Then, he slipped the envelope into his pocket and pushed open the convenience store door. He ran. Not in turnout gear. Not in a suit. Just jeans and a hoodie, running along the Han River. His ribs ached. Didn't matter. Nadia was standing at a bus stop by the Han River, waiting for the airport bus. Suitcase beside her, earbuds in until someone pulled one out. Jiho. He was out of breath. Obviously had been running. One hand pressed to his ribs. You ran? Your ribs. I'm fine. You really don't look fine. Jiho caught his breath. Looked at her. I got your note. Yeah. I'm the best view in Seoul? Nadia didn't answer. She just smiled. You're the best part of Seoul for me. Now and after you're gone. Nadia's eyes filled. This time she didn't hold it back. Jiho, go do what you need to do in New York. I'll be here. Until when? Until you come back. Nadia stepped toward him. He stepped toward her. The Han River wind moved through the space between them. The bus came. Nadia reached for her suitcase handle. Jiho put his hand over hers, just for a moment. She got on, took a window seat. Jiho was visible from the glass, standing still. He didn't move until the bus pulled away. I'll come back. I promise. The bus crossed the Han River Bridge. A Seoul sunset was spreading across the water. Nadia put down the sketchbook and just looked, because the Seoul she was carrying home was the one where Jiho was waiting.
The human heart can't be stopped by borders, languages, or the color of someone's skin. Nadia was betrayed in Seoul, but she walked away with something far deeper than what was taken from her. Jiho was a man who hadn't wavered in 10 years of walking into fires. And then one person's smile made his hands shake for the first time. Even the strongest people need a shoulder to lean on. Even the ones who white-knuckle it alone can be undone by a simple cup of instant noodles from someone who actually sees them. Leaving isn't the end when it gives you a reason to come back. Waiting isn't longing when it's built on trust. That's what real love does. On a pre-dawn bench by the Han River in Seoul, two people proved it quietly.
This story is a work of fiction.